Om Namo Narayanaya. Welcome. Today we are reading the Svetasvatara Upanishad. This Upanishad has 6 parts. We're going to divide this up over 3 videos. Part 1. You want to get in the act, cat? Of course, everyone wants to get into the act. Here we go. Part 1. Students of Brahma and the Vedas discuss among themselves. What is the cause? Is it Brahma? Whence are we born? Why do we live? Where is our final rest? Under whose orders are we, who know the Brahma, subjected to the law of happiness and misery? Time, nature, law, chance, matter, energy, intelligence. Neither these nor combination of these can bear examination because of their own birth, identity, and existence of the self. The self also is not a free agent, being under the sway of happiness and misery. Practicing the method of meditation, they realize that being, who is the God of religion, the self of philosophy, and the energy of science, who exists as the self-luminous power in everyone, who is the source of the intellect, emotions, and will, who is one without a second, who presides over all the causes enumerated above, beginning with time and ending with the individual soul, and who had been incomprehensible because of the limitations of their own intellect. We think of him as the universe resembling a wheel which has one felly with a triple tire, 16 extremities, 50 spokes, 20 counter spokes, and 6 sets of 8, which is driven along 3 different roads by means of a belt that is single yet manifold, and which each revolution gives rise to 2. We think of him in his manifestation as the universe, who is like a river that contains the waters of 5 streams, that has 5 big turnings due to 5 causes, that has the 5 pranas for the waves, the mind, the basis of 5-fold perception for the source, and the 5-fold misery for its rapids, and that has 5 whirlpools, 5 branches, and innumerable aspects. In this infinite wheel of Brahman, in which everything lives and rests, the pilgrim soul is whirled about, knowing the individual soul, hereto regarded as separate, to be itself the moving force, and blessed by him, it attains immortality. This is expressly declared to be the supreme Brahman. In that is the triad. It is the firm support, and it is the imperishable. Knowing the inner essence of this, the knowers of Veda become devoted to Brahman, merge themselves in it, and are released from birth. The Lord supports this universe, which consists of a combination of the perishable and the imperishable, the manifest and the unmanifest. As long as the self does not know the Lord, it gets attached to worldly pleasures and is bound. But when it knows him, all fetters fall away from it. The conscious subject and the unconscious object, the master and the dependent, are both unborn. She, too, who is engaged in bringing about the relation of the enjoyer and the enjoyed, or between these two, is unborn. When all these 3 are realized as Brahma, the self becomes infinite, universal, and free from the sense of agentship. Matter is perishable, but God is imperishable and immortal. He, the only God, rules over the perishable matter and individual souls. By meditating on him, by uniting with him, and by becoming one with him, there is cessation of all illusion in the end. With the knowledge of God, all fetters fall off. With the waning of ignorance, birth and death cease. Going beyond the consciousness of the body by meditating on him, one reaches the 3rd state, that being the universal lordship. All his desires are satisfied, and he becomes one without a second. This is to be known as eternally existing in one's own self. Indeed, there is nothing to be known beyond this. As a result of meditation, the enjoyer, the enjoyed, and the power which brings about the enjoyment are all declared to be the 3 aspects of Brahman. Fire is not perceived in its source, the fire stick, till it is ignited by percussion. The subtle essence of fire, nevertheless, is not absent in the stick, for fire can be obtained from the source, the fire stick, by striking again. That is the state of Atman before and after realization. By meditating on the pranava, the Atman is perceived manifestly in the body. But it was there in a latent state, even before realization. Making one's own body the lower piece of wood, and the pranava the upper piece of wood, and practicing churning in the form of meditation, one should realize God as one would find out something hidden. As oil and sesame seeds, as butter and curds, as water and underground springs, as fire and wood, even so this self is perceived in the self. He who, by means of truthfulness, self-control, and concentration, looks again and again for the self, which is all-pervading like butter contained in milk, which is rooted in self-knowledge and meditation, he becomes the supreme Brahman, the destroyer of ignorance. That's the end of part 1. Part 2. First, harnessing the mind and senses with the view to realizing the truth, and then having found out the light of the fire, the evolving soul brought itself out of the earth. With our minds controlled so as to manifest the self-luminous immanent soul, we shall vigorously endeavor for the attainment of supreme bliss. Controlling the heaven-aspiring senses with the help of the mind and the intellect, the immanent soul so regenerates them as to enable them to manifest the self-luminous infinite light. Great is the glory of the immanent soul, who is all-pervading, all-knowing, infinite, and self-luminous. Only those rare few who know undergo the necessary discipline and spiritual practices. The wise do indeed control the activities of the intellect and practice meditation and concentration. Following only in the footsteps of the wise, I merge you both in the ancient Brahman by continued meditation. May the glorious one manifest himself. May the sons of immortal bliss hearken to me, even they who occupy celestial regions. Where fire is churned out, where air is controlled, where so much use overflows, there the mind attains perfection. Attaining whom thou destroyest the source, and art no more troubled by the results of past actions, to that ancient Brahman be thou devoted to the prime cause, the immanent soul. Placing the body in a straight posture, holding the chest, throat, and head erect, and drawing the senses and the mind into the heart, the knowing one should cross over all the fearful currents by means of the raft of Brahma. Controlling the senses with an effort and regulating the activities in the body, one should breathe out through the nostrils when the vital activities become gentle. Then knowing one, without being in the least distracted, should keep his hold on the mind as on the reins attached to restive horses. One should perform one's exercises in complete concentration, resorting to caves and such other pure places helpful to its practice, places where the ground is level with pebbles and the scenery pleasing to the eyes, where there is no wind, dust, fire, dampness, and disturbing noises. Forms that appear like snow, smoke, sun, wind, fire, firefly, lightning, crystal and moon precede the manifestation of Brahma in yoga practice. When the fivefold perception of yoga, arising from concentrating the mind on earth, water, light, air, and ether, have appeared to the yogin, then he has become possessed of a body made of the fire of yoga, and he will not be touched by disease, old age, or death. It is said that the first signs of entering yoga are lightness of body, health, thirstfulness of mind, clearness of complexion, a beautiful voice, an agreeable odor, and scantinous excretions. Just as the same metal disc which was stained by dust before shines brightly when clean, so the embodied being, seeing the truth of Atman, realizes oneness, attains the goal, and becomes sorrowless. When the yogin realizes the truth of Brahman, through the perception of the truth of Atman in this body as a self-luminous entity, then knowing the divinity as unborn, eternal, and free from all the modifications of Prakriti, he is freed from all sins. This divinity pervades all directions in their entirety. He is the firstborn. He has entered into the womb. He alone is born, and is to be born in the future. He is inside all persons as the indwelling self, facing all directions. Salutations to the divinity who is in the fire, who is in the water, who is in the plants, who is in the trees, who has pervaded the whole universe. Thus ends part 2. Wow. So part 1 was some great theology, which is well worth delving into, and takes all these ideas that I've read in other videos on this channel, and it just sort of focuses them in. That's sort of what the Upanishads, I feel, do. And I'm thinking, like, reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is so worth it, but and it has, like, everything, but the Upanishads sort of take so much stuff that is laced in narration and just sort of goes, here's the theology, without any fluff. Makes it very dense. It makes it very intense. You could literally take one of these sentences and just meditate on it for a day, or a week, or a lifetime. And then part 2 takes it to the next level, where we're discussing meditation and achieving all that we've just been talking about. It's really, this is a really intense, I'd say very important Upanishad. I know there's minor and major Upanishads. I don't remember which is which that I'm reading, but this is certainly one that is really good. It's really good. There was a line here, it mentioned something that I wanted to mention. Gosh, where was it? It's in part 2, I believe. It mentions, oh, here it is. Part 2, verse 6, when fire is churned, where air is controlled, where soma juice overflows, there the mind attains perfection. So I see soma mentioned often in the Upanishads. I've read it at least a few times now, and I think anyone who studies these scriptures comes up against this word soma, and it's this juice. And a question that always gets asked is, where can I get some of that shit? It looks really good. It's like, ooh, it's like cocaine, liquid cocaine, I guess, or something. I mean, just, drink that down, you'll be feeling good. So Sri Archaya of Dharma Nation actually had this question asked on a YouTube video that I watched recently. Someone just came out and asked, where can I get this? Where can I find it? And he said 2 things. One, it's not the trippy drug you think it is. It doesn't give you visions. I forget exactly what he said, and I don't remember the video. I'm sorry, so I can't reference it. But basically, it's not this drug that's taking you out of your body like an LSD trip. It's something else. But also, more importantly, it's not here. You will never find it. It's like the Holy Grail, or the Fountain of Youth, or the Garden of Eden, the tree. If it existed on this planet, it is no longer here. Now, I don't remember if Achayaji said that it was actually something that's only found to the gods. I think that's what he said. Only the gods have access to it. Maybe it was always like that. I don't know, but don't go looking for it. You're not going to find it. So when this text says that you're going to need that, no, you won't. You won't need it. Did the writer of this text have it? I don't know. I don't know. Some will say, yes, the writer of that text had it, but that text was not written in the Kali Yuga, so it's a different world. Others will say maybe no, it's just a descriptive term. You can figure out where you land on that. As it is, we don't know the writers of a lot of these Upanishads. Supposedly they weren't written by humans, they just were. They're just there. They were spoken and then written down. It's a mystery. And Soma might be a bit of that mystery. We will pick up with the next 4 verses in the next 2 videos, so stay tuned. Those will come out in the next few days. And thanks for watching. Comments, questions, all that stuff down below on anything I've talked about. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.